The golden savannah whispers lies about a glorious unifier who forged a nation from chaos. We are told of a brilliant strategist who invented the horns of the bull formation. History books paint him as a noble savage who stood tall against encroaching colonial powers.
This romantic image is a seductive mask, hiding a much darker and colder reality.
We must peel back the layers of mythology to reveal the machinery of absolute terror. The story does not begin with a king, but with a frightened and rejected boy. He was born an illegitimate mistake in a society that valued lineage above all else. The rejected one grew up amidst taunts and ridicule that curdled his blood into vinegar. Every insult hurled at the fatherless child became a brick in the fortress of his psyche. He learned early that mercy was a luxury afforded only to those with power.
His exile was not a tragedy, but a crucible that burned away his empathy.
In the wilderness, he observed the ruthlessness of nature and the silence of the predator.
He realized that fear was a stronger currency than love or loyalty could ever be.
When the illegitimate son finally returned, he did not bring peace or reconciliation. He brought a new kind of warfare designed to obliterate the very soul of his enemies.
The traditional long-throwing spears were discarded as toys for cowards who feared close combat.
He introduced a short stabbing blade that forced his warriors to look death in the eye.
There was no escape from the visceral intimacy of killing under his strict military doctrine. To lose your weapon in battle was a crime, punishable by immediate and public execution.
Even the sandals were stripped from their feet to harden them against the unforgiving terrain. Those who cried out in pain while marching over thorns were beaten or killed instantly. He was forging a machine made of human flesh that felt no pain and feared nothing. This was not about honor. It was about creating a weapon that obeyed without question.
The innovative military formations were actually cages designed to trap both enemy and soldier. Flanking maneuvers ensured that no warrior could flee without being seen by his comrades.
Survival depended entirely on moving forward into the deadly maw of the opposing force. But the battlefield was only one theater where this master of psychological warfare operated. He understood that controlling the food supply was the ultimate leash on a population. The cattle herds were the banks of the savannah, and he seized every single asset. By monopolizing the wealth, he ensured that no rival chief could ever afford to rebel. Young men were conscripted not just for war, but to prevent them from breeding rivals. He delayed marriage for his soldiers to keep their sexual frustration focused on violence. A man without a family has nothing to lose but his life for the king. The social fabric was rewritten until every heartbeat in the kingdom belonged to him alone. His mother became the only woman he ever trusted in a world of potential traitors. When she died, his grief mutated into a weapon of mass hysteria and national suicide.
He demanded that the entire nation suffer a pain equal to his own crushing loss.
Cows were slaughtered specifically so their calves would know the emptiness of motherlessness. Crops were forbidden to be planted, ensuring a famine that would kill thousands of innocents.
Anyone found with dry eyes during the mourning period was dragged away and bludgeoned.
Fear became the air they breathed and the water they drank in those dark months. It was a purge disguised as grief, designed to eliminate anyone with a spark of independence. His paranoia grew with every conquest, until he saw assassins in every shadow. The very system of terror he built eventually turned its gaze back upon its creator. His half-brothers watched from the sidelines with eyes full of calculation and hidden malice.
They saw that the kingdom was bleeding to death from the whims of a tyrant.
The decision to strike was not born of courage, but of sheer desperate survival. In the end, the mighty conqueror was stabbed in a dusty kraal like common livestock.
He died asking his assassins why they were killing him, never understanding his own creation.
His body was left for the jackals, a final indignity for the man who demanded worship.
The myth of the noble unifier was constructed later to hide the scars of the era.
We prefer the legend of the warrior king because the truth makes us uncomfortable.
It forces us to admit that great nations are often built on piles of broken bones.
The legacy is not one of unity, but of a trauma that echoes through generations. We must stop worshipping the statue and start examining the blood spilled at its base. The machinery of fear is efficient, but it always devours the hand that cranks it. True power does not require the silence of the graveyard to validate its existence. The outcast son proved that a man can conquer the world, but lose his own soul.
His story is a warning about what happened when pain is weaponized into political policy. We walk away from this history with the heavy burden of knowing the cost of greatness. The savannah remembers the screams long after the history books have sanitized the narrative.